When we talk about how women sometimes fail in love, one of the most important aspects to consider is the role of unrealistic expectations. Love is one of the most profound experiences a human can have, but it is also one of the most complex. Many women enter relationships carrying with them a vision of what love should look like, shaped by cultural narratives, movies, novels, and sometimes even past experiences. This vision, while inspiring and beautiful in theory, can often set them up for disappointment when the reality of a relationship does not match the imagined ideal. The problem arises when expectations become rigid standards, rather than flexible guidelines, and women begin to measure their partners or their relationships against a blueprint that simply cannot exist in real life. This does not mean that having standards or wanting a fulfilling relationship is wrong. It is natural and healthy. However, the difficulty comes when these expectations are unrealistic. For example, expecting a partner to be emotionally perfect at all times, to anticipate every need without communication, or to fit into a preconceived idea of a perfect partner can create pressure that no human can realistically meet. When these expectations go unmet, frustration and disappointment accumulate, and their relationship begins to feel like a failure, even if the partner is loving, loyal, and genuine. This creates a cycle where women blame themselves or their partner, leading to tension, resentment, or withdrawal, rather than fostering understanding and growth together. Furthermore, unrealistic expectations often ignore the natural evolution of relationships. Love is not static. It is dynamic, requiring adaptability, patience, and a willingness to accept imperfection. When a woman expects love to be constant in its intensity or consistency in behavior without acknowledging the ebb and flow of life, she risks feeling let down when inevitable challenges arise. Relationships involve two individuals, each with their own habits, fears, and emotional landscapes. Expecting perfection ignores the reality that human beings are flawed and that true intimacy is built not on perfection, but on understanding, compromise, and empathy. Another layer to this issue is the comparison with idealized images of romance. Social media, films, and stories from friends can create a perception that love should always be passionate, flawless, and effortless. This comparison often leads women to believe that if their relationship does not meet these high standards, something is wrong with them or their partner. Instead of appreciating the real and unique qualities of their partner, they might focus on what is missing or imperfect, which can erode satisfaction and connection over time. Recognizing and adjusting expectations is not about lowering standards or settling for less. It is about cultivating realism, self-awareness, and emotional flexibility. It is about understanding that love thrives not in the absence of imperfection, but in the presence of acceptance and commitment. By becoming aware of the expectations they carry, women can learn to appreciate the authentic strengths of their partner, navigate challenges with resilience, and engage in love with a mindset rooted in understanding rather than idealization. Ultimately, the failure to manage unrealistic expectations is not a flaw in character. It is a common human experience. Education, self-reflection, and mindfulness can help women shift their perspective, enabling them to build more sustainable and fulfilling relationships where love is nurtured through understanding, patience, and the celebration of real, imperfect humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, another critical way in which women sometimes struggle in love is by ignoring their own self-worth. At the heart of every successful and fulfilling relationship lies a deep sense of self-respect and self-awareness. When a woman undervalues herself or compromises her own needs, desires, and principles for the sake of a relationship, she unintentionally creates an imbalance that can undermine the very connection she seeks to nurture. Self-worth is not about arrogance or self-centeredness. It is about understanding that one's needs, feelings, and boundaries are valid and deserving of respect. When this awareness is absent, women may find themselves giving too much of themselves without receiving equal care, attention, or consideration in return. This pattern often begins subtly. A woman might suppress her opinions, avoid asserting her preferences, or adapt her personality to accommodate her partner, believing that love is about sacrifice or conformity. While compromise is a healthy and necessary aspect of any relationship, constantly prioritizing the other person's happiness over one's own can lead to emotional exhaustion, resentment, and even a loss of identity. The danger is that over time, a woman may start to internalize the belief that her feelings, dreams, and boundaries are secondary or less important, which erodes her confidence and self-esteem. Ignoring self-worth can also manifest as tolerating unhealthy behavior. Some women may excuse disrespect, dishonesty, or emotional unavailability in a partner because they fear being alone or believe they are not deserving of better treatment. This pattern can create a cycle where women repeatedly invest in relationships that do not fulfill them emotionally, physically, or mentally. It is important to recognize that self-worth is not measured by how much one sacrifices or endures, but by the respect, love, and mutual care that one receives in return. Accepting anything less is a disservice to one's own growth and happiness. Another aspect of ignoring self-worth is the constant search for validation from a partner. While support and encouragement are natural and beautiful in love, relying entirely on external approval can be dangerous. Women who base their sense of value solely on a partner's recognition or affection may find themselves feeling empty or insecure when that validation is inconsistent or absent. True self-worth comes from within, from acknowledging one's own strengths, accomplishments, and intrinsic value. When a woman recognizes this, she can engage in relationships from a place of abundance rather than deficiency, offering love freely without losing herself in the process. Cultivating self-worth also means setting clear boundaries and understanding that saying no does not equate to rejection or failure. Boundaries are essential to maintaining respect, emotional health, and balance within a relationship. Women who uphold their boundaries communicate their needs and expectations clearly, creating a foundation for mutual understanding and respect. By honoring themselves in this way, they not only preserve their own well-being, but also inspire healthier dynamics with their partners, where both individuals feel valued and heard. Ultimately, failing to acknowledge one's self-worth is not a moral failing. It is a common human challenge, especially in matters of the heart. Awareness, reflection, and practice can help women cultivate a sense of value that is independent of external validation. By embracing their own worth, women empower themselves to choose partners who respect and cherish them, build relationships rooted in equality, and experience love that is nurturing, balanced, and enduring. Understanding this principle is a transformative step toward achieving a love that does not diminish but elevates both partners, creating a shared journey of growth, respect, and genuine connection. Ladies and gentlemen, another key reason why women sometimes fail in love is the fear of vulnerability. Love at its deepest level requires openness, honesty, and the willingness to expose one's true self. This means sharing fears, insecurities, desires, and even past wounds with someone else. Yet, for many women, the prospect of being emotionally vulnerable can feel terrifying. The fear of rejection, judgment, or disappointment often leads them to build walls around their hearts, preventing true intimacy from developing. While these walls may feel protective, they also create a distance, misunderstandings, and missed opportunities for connection. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is in fact the foundation of authentic relationships. When a woman hesitates to express her true feelings or avoids showing her emotions out of fear, she inadvertently hinders the growth of the relationship. Partners may sense a lack of transparency, misinterpret intentions, or feel emotionally disconnected even if the woman deeply cares for them. This fear can manifest in many subtle ways, such as withholding opinions, avoiding difficult conversation, or masking sadness, anger, or disappointment to appear strong or unbothered. While the intent is often to protect oneself or maintain harmony, their result is a barrier that prevents true closeness and trust from forming. Many women have learned from past experiences that vulnerability can lead to hurt. Previous heartbreaks, betrayals, or emotional neglect can leave lasting imprints, making it difficult to open up again. The challenge lies in distinguishing between self-protection and self-imposed isolation. When fear dictates behavior, relationships are navigated cautiously rather than fully experienced. Women may hold back affection, avoid emotional risks, or hesitate to share dreams and ambitions, fearing that they may not be accepted. In doing so, they deny both themselves and their partner the depth and richness that vulnerability brings to love. It is also important to recognize that vulnerability encourages mutual growth. When a woman allows herself to be seen, her strengths, weaknesses, and authentic self, she invites her partner to do the same. This creates a safe space for both individuals to communicate openly, resolve conflicts with empathy, and develop a bond rooted in trust rather than superficial appearances. Conversely, when fear of vulnerability dominates, relationships remain on the surface, and couples may struggle to achieve emotional intimacy, no matter how compatible they are in other areas. Overcoming this fear does not mean abandoning caution or rushing into openness indiscriminately. It means cultivating emotional courage, learning to trust gradually, and understanding that true love involves risk. Emotional vulnerability can feel uncomfortable at first, but it is precisely this discomfort that fosters growth, understanding, and deeper connection. Women who embrace vulnerability are able to experience love in its most authentic form, allowing themselves to be seen, heard, and valued for who they truly are. Ultimately, failing to embrace vulnerability is not a personal flaw. It's a natural response to past pain and uncertainty. Awareness, reflection, and small intentional acts of emotional openness can help women shift from fear to courage, from guardedness to authentic engagement. By learning to step into vulnerability, women unlock the potential for richer, more meaningful relationships where love is not only felt but deeply shared, and where emotional intimacy becomes a source of strength, fulfillment, and lasting connection.